Well, European countries export an array of goods to the U.S., French wines, Italian fashion, Irish butter. But for Germany, the car industry is king. And that key sector looks set to face a harsh new reality soon.
Global financial markets are tanking again in the wake of U.S. President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs. Stock exchanges across Asia plunged at the start of the new week of trading, with fears growing of a global recession.
And as our domestic agenda cannot be seen separately from global developments around us, let me start with the U.S. tariffs.
Germany, France, and Denmark, three of Europe's leading countries, have recently created a significant shift on the global stage, causing disturbances to the strategies of U.S. automotive giants. A combination of regulations, ranging from high environmental standards to customs procedures, has suddenly diminished the competitiveness of American vehicles in the European market. The U.S. automotive industry, valued at around $1.5 trillion, is now facing a challenge that has implications far beyond just automakers and their employees. This situation could affect the broader course of the global economy, as the automotive industry plays a central role in technological innovation, supply chains, and even diplomatic relations in many countries. This emerging landscape raises questions about the future of the America First doctrine that Donald Trump championed during his presidency.
A new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
The recent moves by Germany, France, and Denmark could potentially reduce American automotive exports or even undermine their competitiveness in the European market, causing confusion within the U.S. administration. The question remains, will these developments push the U.S. automotive industry into a radical transformation, or will they spark a new trade war between the U.S. and Europe? Furthermore, can American companies, especially those lagging in electric vehicle production, quickly adapt to these disruptive ecological rules, or will they lose their foothold in Europe and face significant economic repercussions? At the heart of this dispute lies the tension between Europe's aggressive push for climate action and the U.S.'s claims of unfair competition. Should Europe be commended for taking tough measures against the climate crisis? Or does the U.S. have a valid point in accusing Europe of unfair trade practices? The story unfolds with these pressing questions. The American automotive industry is traditionally centered in Detroit, with massive production facilities and global brands like Ford and General Motors. For over a century, the U.S. was considered a dominant force in automobile manufacturing, both in terms of volume and innovation. However, European giants, particularly those from Germany, have gradually taken the lead in automotive technology, gaining a reputation for advanced engine designs, luxurious vehicles, and superior manufacturing. France in recent years has attracted attention for its focus on automobile design and environmental approaches, while Denmark, despite being a smaller economy, has made its mark with aggressive green energy policies and sustainability initiatives. Together, these three countries are implementing policies that could severely challenge the U.S. automotive market. Some view these moves as an attempt to exclude U.S. vehicles due to environmental standards, while others believe this could be the beginning of a trade war. The Trump administration, which has long criticized Europe for what it views as unfair trade practices, especially regarding the share of German cars in the U.S. market, has warned that Europe would eventually retaliate or toughen its policies to protect its own interests. While it's unclear whether these countries are acting independently or in concert to the European Union (EU), the result is clear: Germany's stricter environmental standards, France's support for domestic production, and Denmark's stringent carbon footprint regulations are making it harder for U.S. manufacturers to compete in Europe. American vehicles, traditionally larger and with higher fuel consumption, are particularly disadvantaged under Europe's rising environmental standards. This could lead to the imposition of new taxes, testing procedures, or compliance certificates, further complicating the export of U.S. vehicles. Germany, in particular, has taken significant steps toward reducing the reliance on gasoline and diesel vehicles. This move could render American-made vehicles, such as those from Ford and General Motors, obsolete in the face of Europe's stringent emission standards. Meanwhile, France has intensified support for domestic industry, with plans to incentivize local manufacturers like Peugeot, Citroën, and Renault, potentially making it even harder for U.S. automakers to succeed in the French market. The French government has set ambitious goals for electric vehicle adoption, which, with backing from the European Commission, could lead to further legislation that disadvantages internal combustion engine vehicles. Denmark, though smaller, has also gained attention for its tough environmental policies. The Danish government plans to reduce carbon emissions from vehicles to nearly zero, and the country is considering a ban on internal combustion engine vehicles after a set date. This stance is likely to present a challenge not only for American vehicles, but for traditional automakers in many EU countries as well. American-made vehicles, often associated with large engines and high fuel consumption, are likely to struggle in markets like Denmark, where sustainability is a top priority. Although American electric vehicle brands like Tesla have some advantage in Europe, the broader U.S. automotive industry is at a disadvantage. In response, American manufacturers may be forced to produce new models for the European market, a move that will require significant research and development investment. Without these adjustments, U.S. vehicles may be barred from entry into key European markets. The U.S. automotive industry, comprising a vast network of workers, suppliers, and manufacturers, is not just an economic sector, but a critical part of the country's economy. Restrictions on American-made vehicles by Europe, under the guise of environmental protection or national industry protectionism, could lead to significant losses in exports and market share. Some U.S. companies are already considering shifting focus to other regions, such as China or South America. But the importance of Europe, both in terms of its geopolitical weight and high purchasing power, means that abandoning this market would be a difficult decision. The Trump administration, known for protectionist policies, has consistently pushed for fairer trade agreements with Europe, especially concerning the automobile sector. However, Europe's insistence on prioritizing its green agenda and protecting its domestic industry has led to growing tensions. The EU's emphasis on climate protection could result in a prolonged struggle for the U.S. automotive industry, forcing it to adapt or lose market access entirely. While a trade war is always a possibility, such an outcome would likely harm both sides, as both U.S. and European automakers rely on each other's markets. As the EU strengthens its environmental protection policies and positions itself as a leader in the green revolution, the U.S. automotive industry faces a critical juncture. If it fails to adapt to the rising demands for electric and sustainable vehicles, it may find itself sidelined in Europe, with lasting consequences for its global competitiveness. Ultimately, the question remains: can the U.S. automotive industry adapt in time to meet Europe's stringent standards, or will it face a protracted decline in European markets? As European countries continue to pursue aggressive green policies, the pressure on American manufacturers is only set to increase. The coming years will likely be crucial in determining whether the U.S. can maintain its automotive dominance, or whether it will be overtaken by European innovation.